Hey guys, what's up? Eli here. In this video, I'm going to talk about when you should be looking at forming an LLC or a company. Now, in this training, we're going to cover what is an LLC and a company at a high level. What are the benefits of forming an LLC or a company as it relates to dropshipping? And when should you be looking at forming your LLC or company for your e-commerce business? Now, this is a disclaimer really quickly. I am not obviously an accountant or a legal practitioner. This is based on my own personal experience. This is what I have done. This is just based on my own experience. I recommend that you go seek your own legal advice. What is an LLC or a company? So I keep saying or a company because I live in Australia, we don't actually have LLCs. We have proprietary limited companies. So this will be more of a broad discussion about companies as a whole rather than about a specific company structure. Because honestly, there are a lot of different companies and depending on where you live, okay? So I wanna make this broad enough that it covers everybody kind of regardless of where you live, okay? I don't wanna just make this specific to the United States because I don't live in the United States, and I don't want to make this specific to just Australia because I know a lot of people watching this aren't from Australia. Just generally speaking, a company is a legal entity that represents an association or a group driven towards a common goal, usually generating profit. That's the goal. Now, what are the benefits of an LLC for e-commerce? Now, there's a lot of benefits. So I'm just going to touch on the main ones. One of the big ones is the reduced risk of personal liability, okay? So what this means is that if somebody comes after you, the company gets sued, not you, which means they go after your company's assets, not your personal assets. Usually, okay? I haven't been sued before, and touch wood, that never happens, but I've heard it's not always the case, okay? Like I said, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not across all of this, but I've heard it's not always the case. Sometimes you can be sued as an individual as well if you do something like it'd have to be pretty bad, I guess. More often than not, the company will get sued, not you, okay? So they can't come after your personal assets. Now, one of the big things and the big bonuses and the big plus sides of having an LLC or a company is write-offs, so tax write-offs, and the ability to claim things on tax, okay? So you can actually claim so much stuff on tax. It's pretty crazy, actually. So you can claim your ad spend, you can claim your cost of goods, you can claim things like your phone, your laptop, your internet, you can claim a proportion of your rent because it's your business place of operation is your home. You can claim your travel, and you can claim your education and training. So for example, I'm not sure exactly how it works in different parts of the world, but in Australia, we get 30 cents back on the dollar. So for every dollar we spend, we get 30 cents back if it is for business purposes. So for every dollar I spend on ads, I get 30 cents back. For every dollar I spend on costs of goods, I get 30 cents back. Tell you what, I'm spending a lot of money on Facebook ads, and I'm spending a lot of money on cost of goods, right? So I get 30 cents back. So say I spend, I don't know, I could spend maybe $70,000 in 1 month on Facebook ads. So say I spend $70,000 in a month on Facebook ads, I get 30% of that back. The same goes with cost of goods. So it's actually a lot of money at the end of the day. You know, and I was overseas early this year and my laptop broke. And I was like, oh my gosh, my laptop's broken. I went down to Apple, bought a new one, and I can write that off on tax and get 30 cents back on the dollar for that. So for education and training, I get quite a lot of education courses. I buy a lot of courses. And just today, for example, I signed up to a one-on-one coaching program for myself. And that was a couple of $1,000s, right? And I get 30 cents back for that. So I think the coaching, was a couple of $1,000s for the month, and I get 30 cents back. So that's pretty cool as well. So they're just I wouldn't have any of that if I didn't have my company, okay? So when you're doing volume, and you only get these benefits, obviously, if you're making money, okay? If you're running money through a company, then you have money to spend in your company. What I also want to say is that with a good accountant, you can really identify ways to reduce the amount of tax that you owe. So a couple days ago, for example, I had a tax accounting meeting, like a yearly planning meeting, I don't want to go too much into my, my finances, because that's not what this video is about. But we looked at some ways that I could really reduce my tax bill at the end of the year. And it turns out, like, to reduce my tax bill, my accountant actually wants me to go out and spend like a significant amount of money on stuff, right? And I don't really know what to, like, anyways, he wants me to go out and spend a lot of money to try and reduce my tax. So not by me, he wants my company to spend a lot of money to reduce my tax bill. And that's like, without a good accountant, I wouldn't have known that. Okay, so really invest, if you start an LLC, in a good accountant. Now, when should you form an LLC? So this is a really common question. I was, not sure when I started. Now, I recommend waiting until you have consistent sales coming in. Now, I think you should start when you have about $5,000 to $10,000 per month coming in. I mean, that's what I say now, though. Okay, when I started, I was doing about $40,000 per month in sales. I think I left it too late, to be honest. Okay, I feel like I should have started a lot sooner, but I just was hesitant because it felt like quite a scary thing at the time, like starting an LLC or a company. Like, I felt like a huge thing. I wasn't really ready for it at the time mentally, so I left it. And looking back, I should have just jumped in earlier. It's honestly not as scary as you think. So what I recommend is wait till you have some consistent sales coming in, doing $5,000 to $10,000 per month, and then just reinvest your profits back into forming an LLC or a company. And so this is how to form an LLC. So obviously it's going to depend on where you live. I just recommend keeping it really simple. So like I said, I'm not going to do this for every place. So I'm not going to do this just for Australia or just for the US. Form your company where you live, okay? So keep it simple. Applies to everybody. Form your company where you live. There's lots of different strategies out there. I hear a lot of people saying go to Delaware or Wyoming and stuff like that. Like, I live in Australia. Like, I don't know how I would go about forming a LLC in Wyoming. Okay, I'm sure people probably are going to comment on this video and say, I know how to do that. But to be quite honest, I don't really care. I personally think you just form it when you're starting out where you live, and then get your head around it, because there's a lot of learning to go on just when you're forming an LLC. Get your head around it, and then maybe down the track look at starting one up in Wyoming, okay? But start with just Google form LLC near me if you live in the United States. If you live outside of the United States, just form a company near me, whatever it's called where you live. Usually costs between $400 to $700 USD. Like I said, live in Australia. Mine cost me about $600 USD, which was about $1,000 Australian. Like I said, there's probably going to be people who say, oh, you got ripped off. Whatever. That's what I paid. Honestly, it's when your e-commerce business is going well, it's not that bad, okay? Like, $400 or $500 or whatever to form an LLC. It's honestly not too bad. And there's a yearly fee you have to pay as well, just to keep it going. And it's just a couple $100. Now, like I said, don't be too scared about forming an LLC. It's really not as hard as you think, right? Like I said, when I first opened my LLC or company in Australia, I was freaking out. I was like, oh my God, it's this crazy thing. It was massive in my brain. I was psyching it up, being like, oh, you're going to own a company? What? Surely not. But I just did it, and it was a very simple process. It was very easy. I don't know where you live, but I know when I did it, it was quite an easy process. I was actually able to pay somebody to pretty much do the entire thing for me. I just had to sign a couple of documents, and that was it. It was formed. Now, these are some tips. Make sure you find a really good accountant that has experience working with e-commerce businesses, preferably dropshippers, okay? I spent a while looking around for accountants before I landed on mine, and he actually owned and ran his own successful dropshipping store for quite a while. So that's why I went with him, okay? Because I didn't have to explain to him what my business model was. I went around to a few accountants and I was trying to explain to them what dropshipping was, and they looked at me like I was dealing drugs, right? And that's not what you want when you're trying to work with an accountant. They need to understand what it is you're doing. You don't want to try and explain to them your business model. So try and find somebody who understands e-commerce, or if even better, if they could understand dropshipping, okay? If your store is doing well, pay them whatever it costs, okay? An accountant, because honestly, a good accountant is worth their weight in gold, right? Like I said, I just had my tax planning meeting with my accountant. And this 1 hour call cost me $1,000 Australian. $1,000 for a 1 hour call, right? Like, it was a lot of money, but the dude saved me a lot more in this planning meeting, okay? So they will make you money, a good accountant, or save you money, okay? So pay them whatever it costs because they know this, if they know their stuff. Also, this is for more kind of bookkeeping and accounting and stuff, but make sure when you start getting some sales in, use a accounting software like Xero or QuickBooks. I'm sure there's a few other ones. I personally use Xero to track your income and outgoing expenses, okay? Make sure you use something like that. When you really start going, a spreadsheet isn't enough, okay? Use something like Xero or QuickBooks as well as a spreadsheet. That's what I do. Hire a bookkeeper from Upwork. You can pay them, $10, $20 an hour. Get them to come in, depending on how well your business is doing, either fortnightly or monthly to reconcile your books, okay? So if you can have somebody who comes in fortnightly or monthly, you really don't have much to worry about, okay? They're gonna come in every 2 weeks, every 4 weeks, reconcile your books on QuickBooks or Xero, and then at the end of the year, you're gonna have a tax planning meeting with your accountant, and hopefully they can work out how to save you some money, and that's it, right? Don't try and do it all yourself unless you know that stuff, okay? Because you really have enough to worry about in terms of running your business. Try and offload that job, find somebody on Upwork who's pretty affordable, $10, $20, and let them worry about it. Because this is a learning curve. This was a massive learning curve for me. Even though I don't have to worry about it because I have a bookkeeper, I have, a few accountants that I work with, it's still a learning curve, right? I have no background in accounting. Sometimes the accountants talk to me and my face goes blank because I have no idea what they're saying, right? And they really have to dumb it down for me because it's not my thing, right? I just let them do, that's their thing. I just let them do their thing. But I still learn along the way, and it's still a big learning curve. But the truth is, it's part of owning a business. And you're not going to ever have a successful e-commerce business if you don't do this stuff, okay? So you will never have, if you want to be serious, start an LLC. I see a lot of people hesitate when it comes to when they're earning enough money, like I did, right? I got to $40,000 and I was hesitating about starting an LLC. And I see a lot of people doing that as well. But honestly, after you form an LLC, at least for me, it made me double down, and my results got significantly better after I formed one because I was like, oh gosh, it's we're in too deep now. There's no way to go back. And I'm sure it counts. I've never had to cancel an LLC, but I'm sure it's probably not that difficult a process. But I know that mentally, when I form the LLC, I'm like, oh my gosh, I have a company now. And it's still a big thing in my brain. It's probably not a big thing that it actually is, but it's I feel like I'm committed now, right? I feel like I've not only invested my dollars into this company, but it's it's a machine now, right? I almost can't stop it. I have accounting people, I have bookkeeping people, I have assistants, I have it's a whole machine. And this will happen to you as you progress. It doesn't happen at once. You slowly over time plug in these pieces, but it gets to the point where it's it feels almost like there's no going back because there's so much going on. You can't just, it's not like when you just started and you can't just step away, right? At least for me, I feel like I'm so invested, and I feel like that has caused my results to really increase as well because I'm just doubling down. I'm well, there's no other choice. We have to make this work because what is the machine going to do? The car is going to stop if there's no fuel, right? So just keep that car going. So I don't know. For me anyways, it's just made me double down. So anyways, I digress. Sorry about that. So it's a learning curve, but you have to go through it if you want to be successful in e-commerce. Don't wait too long like I did. If you're doing 5K, 10K a month, you've got enough profit, reinvest it back into the business, form an LLC, and there's honestly a lot of benefits that go along. Just like I said, with cost, ad spend, cost of goods. I mean, I don't know where you live, but I get 30 cents back on the dollar for that stuff, right? And I get the, write off things like my electricity and my phone and my laptop and stuff, right? There's a lot of benefits that you don't get when you don't own one, but you need to be earning money to actually take advantage of those benefits. So if you're earning money, get an LLC and commit, okay? Commit to it. maybe you'll feel like I do, where it's like the only way is forward. Anyways, I'm kind of going off track, rattling on a little bit. Hope you got a lot of value out of this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you did. If you need any additional help at all, check out the Quick Start Pack. The link is in the description. And if you're wanting any one-on-one help with growing your own business, just schedule a call with me, and the link for that is in the description as well. And that's it, guys. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.